you all to make him very welcome. He's a great man. Please make welcome Major Dave Gett.
Thank you very much. This is a little bit of a departure for me. I normally get up and talk about organizational effectiveness and leadership and how to do what you do and do it better as conservatives in your Tea Party groups or your local community organizations. But today, this is a Take Back Our Freedom rally. Today is the day to focus on values. Make a little note here. John Adams is quoted as saying, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the governance of any other." That sets the stage for everything I'd like to share with you today. Why is it important for a moral and religious people? Because a moral and religious people are self-regulating. We do not need government when we control ourselves. Did you know that atheists cannot rightly hold public office in the state of North Carolina? Article 6, Section 8 of our state constitution addresses several reasons for disqualification of people for holding or remaining in public office. And I quote, "The following persons shall be disqualified for office. First, any person who shall deny the being of Almighty God." And that is in our state constitution. That is not something a liberal judge can interpret for himself. As we bear in mind that the United States Constitution was intended only to restrain the federal government, not the states or the people, let's spend the next few minutes and look at just what religious freedoms are and why both John Adams and North Carolina get it right. I'm not a candidate for office. I'm not a political figure. I don't own stocks or investment real estate. So I guess, like you, I'm just an average citizen. So, why am I speaking here today? Because just like you people, I've had enough. It's time to turn this country around. I am a retired Army officer. I've served my country. And today, like you, I hold the most important position in the United States of America. I am a citizen. And like you, at some point, I woke up. Unlike many of you, the Hatch Act kept me from being active in politics for most of my adult life because I was in uniform, but no longer. The continued assaults on our personal freedom and liberties are approaching a precipice, and your presence here today is the sure sign that not only is the battle not over, but we are not alone in this fight. Our government is taking control of every aspect of our lives from conception to grave. We used to say cradle to grave. Then they came up with hope and change. Right here in Forsyth County and in neighboring Rowan County, your own county commissioners are finding their personal First Amendment rights in jeopardy at the hands of self-legislating judges. But make no mistake, this is only part of a much larger movement to totally remove God from our governments. And I'm here to say, not on my watch. But Major Dave, the Tea Party, they want lower taxes, they want smaller government, they want free markets and personal responsibility. I agree. I think these are all commendable goals. But I also recognize that it serves no good purpose to merely heal the body of this nation and ignore its soul. Healing one without the other is only half the battle. Far too often, we're hearing even those who call themselves conservatives in the political arena claim such things as government cannot legislate morality, or government has no business defining marriage. So since I like to keep my arguments simple, I came today to ask you 3 questions. Number 1, just what role should God play in our governance? Did our founding fathers intend for him to play a role in it? And 3, and probably most importantly, can our rights and liberties be secured and preserved without him? First, we note that a political party has 2 key documents. They have a platform which states their values, their purpose, and their goals. And they have a plan of organization that describes how they will operate in furtherance of those goals. Fortunately, we in this country have two documents of similar purpose. We have the Declaration of Independence, and we have our Constitution. And I suggest this is not coincidence. They cannot be viewed as separate and distinct from each other, and nor did one replace the other. The Declaration clearly states our values and our purpose in creating this nation, and establishes a direct relationship between our Creator, His laws, and our inalienable rights. It is His blessing of us with those rights that makes them inalienable, not the power of government. The first role of government, and thus our Constitution, is to secure those rights by preserving that relationship. And folks, that's what makes our great republic unique. Before the Constitution was ratified, it was first, and I quote, ordained and established, not just dreamed up and published by those men. If you look at the meaning of the word ordination, particularly as used in the ecumenical sense, it speaks to an act of man in obedience to God and acting on His behalf. An example would be the certification of ministers, deacons, and other officials in the various denominations to serve in His name in the church. I believe that wording clearly shows our founding fathers believed they were acting according to God's will and in His name. The many references in their writings to our need for divine providence makes it clear that God Himself and the freedom to worship Him as they each saw fit was at the core of their purpose. So from our earliest days as a nation, God, by whatever name we call Him, was at the center of our liberty and of our plan to preserve it. Do these documents really read like the words of men determined to remove God from governance? I don't think so. It is recorded that the Continental Congress was routinely opened with prayer, most often prayed in the name of Jesus. Right. Ever heard the phrase, God save the United States in this honorable court? Look at how many of our federal buildings have religious inscriptions carved right in their very stone. Or better yet, actually have the Ten Commandments displayed there. There are 3 such displays on our Supreme Court alone in Washington. One on the east wall, one on the west wall, and one right over the chair of the Supreme Chief Justice. But Major Dane, what about separation of church and state? Well, my friends, what we're talking about here today is even more important than the independence of religious organizations from state control or control of the halls of government by the church, as was the case with the Church of England. It's about our relationship with the Almighty, for we have no rights or liberty without Him. As I'm sure most of you know, that phrase, separation of church and state, is not even in our Constitution, but is from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote much later. The First Amendment makes it clear that the federal government cannot establish a national church, nor can it inhibit the, quote, free exercise thereof of our individual religious practices. Separation of church and state is far different than separation from religion and God. Our Declaration of Independence severed our relationship with the Crown of Great Britain. It did not sever our relationship with God. Those same laws, those laws of nature's God, is what governed this country for nearly 12 years before we even had a constitution. In this country, we have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. Who among you ever separates your religion from your politics in your thoughts or your deeds? Do we? I don't think so. I don't think I could. So this begs the question. If we are, as Abraham Lincoln described us, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, how can we exclude religion and morality in any form of government made up of we the people? It just isn't humanly possible. So I'm trying to keep the argument simple. But yet today, those who seek to fundamentally transform this country into the next failed liberal socialist experiment would have us believe that this is exactly what we must do. and it is to deny who we are at our core. Their whole argument is based on such false notions. If all our blessings come from God, who are we to redistribute? Joseph Stalin once said that there was no need to conquer the United States militarily. For if we could be stripped of our patriotism, our morality, and our spirituality, we would collapse from within. Patriotism, morality, spiritualism. The three-legged stool of the very substance of this nation, yet also the keys to our defeat. You destroy patriotism when you create an attitude that you are more important than anyone or anything else, and that there's nothing greater than yourself worth fighting for. Nothing promotes this more than convincing everybody that they're a victim of one sort or another, and thus powerless over their own circumstances. And we see this everywhere today, don't we? Isn't that what the Occupy Wall Street crowd is all about? They're the victims. You destroy morality when you tolerate, even through silence, immorality. And it gives the live and let live a whole new meaning. But it is that separation of us from those laws of nature's God that's the critical element here. And you destroy spirituality when you make the free exercise of religion something to be frowned upon, or worse yet, outlawed in the public square. Folks, if our rights and freedoms are available only to us on our own property, then we become prisoners of our own homes, and we are no longer free. Today you have candidates saying things like, I support the Constitution, and yet they won't take a stand for those very laws of nature's God that it was meant to uphold. This is usually pronounced right after they call themselves Christian conservatives. Support of our Constitution is a great thing, but it's not enough not to save this country and turn it around. No one's suggesting that the nation needs to become a Christian nation or a Jewish nation or be defined by any other nationalized creed. Because frankly, there is tyranny to be found at both ends of the political and ideological spectrum. But we are a predominantly Judeo-Christian nation, always have been. Our founding fathers did not flee here to escape religion. They fled here to find a haven for the free exercise of it. Is it not then the height of national hypocrisy to first claim for ourselves those rights and Him as the source of those rights, and then yet turn around and deny that He has any role in our governance over all that He has given to us? It is our connection to Him, both individually and collectively, that preserves those rights. Any hope of protection and preservation without Him is ultimately the reliance on the laws of man, not of God. Have we not already seen how our own Supreme Court has quashed our religious liberties? We've already lost the battle over prayer in schools. Schools, where the next generation gets much of their foundation. Our pledge is being attacked as well. And they're doing it all in the name of liberty. There are those who seek to remove "in God we trust" from our money. And to remove those two words, "under God," from our Pledge of Allegiance that was added after we had won 2 world wars with His blessing. Are you comfortable that the High Court is going to remain on the side of right in these battles? Not if they're appointed by liberal administrators. Not if they're confirmed by even more liberal representatives in the Senate. Frankly, I'm going to take my chances on God. And with the people like you here today who will stand up and speak out. We have to find candidates who are willing to take this hard stance in the halls of government and in the public square. To do that, don't be afraid to ask them the hard questions now. This is when we vet the candidates. It is they who can best right our ship of state, return us to the proper course, and reset the moral compass of this nation. It is why we must choose only the best to represent us at all levels of government. With our vote, we will put them in a position to either reclaim for us those powers and rights that have been conscripted from us, or to keep it for themselves. My friends, we really do have two options today in this country. Live according to the law of man, or live according to the law of God. If our founding fathers had intended for us to live only by the laws of man, or if that is what they had sought for themselves, I think all our Declaration of Independence needed to say was, "Dear God, thanks for the rights and freedoms. We'll take it from here." We weren't declaring our independence from God, and we cannot continue to govern ourselves as a godly people and be a godly people, and yet govern ourselves as godless ones. It's not about establishing a state religion or obligations of observance, but it is about our government having the wisdom, not the tolerance, of free expression of the religion in the public square, as is our God-given right. Ronald Reagan said, "If we ever cease to be one nation under God, we will soon be a nation gone under." And I could not agree more. So let me leave you with this final thought. When we embrace any behavior that violates those laws of nature's God on which this country was founded, we separate ourselves from the very Creator who gave us those rights. We do not have the right to do wrong. And we will not gain it for ourselves by simply redefining what is right and what is wrong. The marriage amendment on the May ballot is a test of that premise. If you believe that traditional marriage is between one man and one woman as God has ordained it, then please vote for the amendment to our Constitution so that radical judges cannot redefine it for us.
That's right.
The survival of this nation does depend on that divine providence. But the battle is ours, not His. His continued blessing is not owed to us, folks. We have to earn it. I ask you to take a similar stand today for Him each and every day. And just as the Reverend C.L. Bryant likes to say, and some of you may remember him from Freedom Fest down in Salisbury last October, stand up! Stand up, America, and stand up for what you believe in. I had to add something to that. Stand up for your neighbor, because if you don't stand up for them, who is going to stand up for you? It is the only way that we can come together with any expectation of unity to preserve this great land that was left to us and paid for with the blood and the toil of patriots from all generations, all races, all faiths, and all creeds. Reagan also reminded us that we are only one generation away from tyranny. This battle is not going to be over in November, no matter the outcome. There's nothing that we can do to keep our children and our children's children from fighting this same battle. Or surely our parents would have done it for us and theirs for them. But the best we can do is act to preserve the moral foundation of this great nation so they at least have a chance of enjoying life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a free people with His blessing. It is your obligation as a citizen. So now back to my three questions. Just what role should God play in our governance? Did our founding fathers intend for Him to play a role in it? And can our rights and liberties be secured without Him? Do you have your answers now? I hope so. I hope so. So I ask you, what are you going to do on your watch? Have a conversation. Talk to your neighbor. Get involved. Be a poll watcher. Organize a precinct. Speak out and make your voice heard. Vet your candidates and then support them to get them elected. But whatever you do, don't just sit there. There is something for everybody to do. And if you don't know what to do, ask. And next time when you come to something like this, bring a friend. May victory be His in 2012. Thank you.